Hello and good morning. Welcome to today's live broadcast. I'm Keck with Builderall, your information products training and support specialist. Today's Monday, so you know what that means. Motivation Monday, that's right. We're going to take a look at a super cool book today and hopefully get our mindset straight for success in business and life. So let's do this. Today, the book we're going to be looking at is called Driven by Douglas Brackman, PhD, with Randy Kelly, who is a former Navy SEAL. Understanding and harnessing the genetic gifts shared by entrepreneurs, Navy SEALs, pro athletes, and maybe you. All right, so let's get into this. Driven. I'm going to start with a quote from the book. Here we go. Once those of us with these driven traits can reconceptualize our purpose so that it maps to our genetic blueprint and begins to harness our latent potential, we can be excellent at what we do in the world as it is now. Again, we are not broken. The world around us is designed by those different from us, and we forget over time and over generations what our purpose in society was. It was a collection of driven brains that put a man on the moon and created the iPhone. It is the driven who can take an idea and create a company that will dominate the market within months and years. We are driven. All that energy is channeled into a force that cannot be stopped when leveraged correctly. These individuals become supercharged with purpose and focus. The purpose of this book is not to make scientific inquiry into these epigenetic interactions. Rather, the goal is to inform the reader that these behavior patterns are a normal variant of human behavior. The driven are not broken, they possess exceptional gifts. When you understand this, you can move beyond the social stigma and personal shame often associated with these differences. More importantly, you will be able to follow the mastery path, the lifelong path toward learning, and use the powerful advantages you, as a driven person, possesses. As someone who is driven, you are uniquely suited to the mastery path. On the mastery path, you will learn to harness your gifts and thrive even if the world does not seem to fit for you. Okay, let's take a look at the big ideas we're going to unpack out of this book, Driven. The first one, the paradoxical truth, discipline equals freedom. Your great story requires structure. The mastery mindset looks like this. Better has no finish line. That's worth repeating. Better has no finish line. You and your sword, forging time. The mastery path, if we're lucky, it never ends. All right, so here we go. The first big idea, the paradoxical truth, discipline equals freedom. This reminds me of a book we looked at a couple weeks ago by Jocko Willink, Discipline Equals Freedom. So this excerpt here is from a section of the book called Real Life Stories. So this one's about Laura. Initially, Laura's need to be rewarded also resulted in some negative behaviors, and she was kicked out of 3 high schools. She was, however, able to recognize those tendencies and establish some critical boundaries, building her own set of practices to handle her powerful drive. At an early age, she recognized that her own container needed to be tight, and she would have to guard against the negative manifestations of her genetic gift. These disciplines were the key. So just to let you know what she's talking about with container here. If you've got a ton of drive energy, you better know how to harness all that. You need an airtight container to keep it in. So that's what we're talking about there. Laura learned the paradoxical truth that discipline equals freedom. She knew her powerful energies must be channeled correctly and addressed constantly. She had opportunities to learn these techniques through her travels and multicultural experiences, spending time at the Shaolin Temple in China, practicing kung fu and meditation, making 9 trips to India, studying yoga, and finding herself in the hospital multiple times following snowboarding injuries. So here we have a story of Laura, who is driven and got to the point she realized that she was going to have to control that drive, or it could be to her detriment. So this paradoxical truth that discipline equals freedom. So the next big idea is your great story requires structure. Just like from Laura's story, she needed a tight container. The predisposition to need something better or to look toward the future is ultimately grounded in the primal dissatisfaction that manifests as drive. We have the potential for great stories like those of Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, but we need a structure that aligns with the driven urges, yet keeps us on track. When that framework is absent, it can lead to bad stories. Clients who haven't found structure and can't direct their drive fall victim to addictions, from gambling to drugs to sex. These addictions promise relief from the endless, almost obsessive-compulsive desire to be better, to get to the anticipated point on the horizon. The drug, sex, or alcohol offers respite from self-perception as failures, beliefs confirmed by failing short of societal and self-imposed expectations, and not grasping that coveted prize. Their disappointment is crushing proof of their inadequacies. Highly driven people need the right environment and the right design for their high-powered drive. Envision a Formula One race car. If you put this supercharged machine on a downtown street, you're going to get into trouble. Take that same race car and put it on the Indianapolis Speedway, and it's a perfect fit. Understanding your drive is the key to overcoming and avoiding addiction. You want to put your gifts in the right environment, an environment in which a driven individual can thrive. So your great story is waiting to be told, but it needs some structure. Here's the primary theme of the book in a nutshell. When the driven thrive, their gifts bring extraordinary outcomes for themselves and society. The trick is to harness those gifts to work for us rather than undermine our efforts. So this is kind of the whole idea of the book right here in this idea about your great story. Okay, the next big idea is the mastery mindset. The driven person is especially suited for the life of mastery. In fact, given our wiring, we almost have to get on the path or we will eventually self-sabotage. As driven, we're wired to feel that it's never enough or good enough. This feeling is what drives us to do amazing things, but it also drives us to shame and to sabotage. The mastery mindset doesn't change our drive, but rather directs it. It shifts us from a place of never enough or not good enough to a mindset where we look for something more or something better. We realize that we're okay in the present, but that we can be better. This shift is life-changing. We're able to stop trying to cover up our perceived failures, but instead learn to run at them. How can I be better cannot exist without finding your faults. We're done pretending to be something in the outside world while hiding in an internal, secret, shameful world. The suffering we experience in our lives stems from the discrepancy between these two worlds. We shift to align the outer and inner world. The mastery mindset. Okay, the next one, better has no finish line. Better has no destination, and better does not mean perfect. This is a huge difference from a mindset that tells us we need to achieve what's on the horizon so we can be okay, or we need to get all A's in college to prove that we're smart. And of course, once we get the A's, we rationalize that anyone could have gotten them because the courses are easy anyway. There's no need for self-hatred, no need for self-sabotage. We shift to a mindset that knows we're okay, but we can always seek to be better. We can always be better. There is excitement in being better, excitement that motivates us to try harder. Better has no finish line. Understanding and believing this is critical to putting an end to self-sabotage. You may come up with ways to be better, but since better has no finish line, you never failed. You never get there, which is great, because there's no longer a reason to be anxious. By focusing on being better, we can make small, manageable changes that will last a lifetime. I love this, better has no finish line. The idea that there's no destination, there's nothing on the horizon that's making us anxious because we have to get there. Okay, I like this because there's no finish line. It's about rather continual improvement, small manageable changes that will last a lifetime. Good stuff. Okay, the next one is you and your sword. Japanese swords are known to be some of the world's best. Handmade even today in an extremely intricate process, these swords do not break in battle. The sword maker puts hard metal on top of soft metal and folds it again and again and again, thousands of times. Hard metal will break and soft metal will bend, yet when you fold them together over and over, you're taking the best attributes of each metal and turning them into the most exquisite cutting machine in the world. These swords don't easily lose their edge, and they're curved at exactly the right angle. Just as we'd craft a sword in a certain organized way, we do much the same thing in our minds and bodies. We must be soft and gentle in attitude, but strong and accountable in action. The ability to experience and integrate the impulsive, the emotional, and the logical parts of our life as a whole result in flow, that fluid state in which we perform at our optimal best. That is what we're shooting for, that flow. Okay, and the next big idea is the mastery path. The mastery path is not about making big decisions or big changes. It's the micro commitments and the micro adjustments we make that constitute the constant state of learning. A small change does not trigger resistance in our elephant up here. It allows us to slowly expand our bandwidth. This is the mastery path. It's kind of counterintuitive because we're always looking for some big grand thing, but it's those little incremental changes that we're talking about. That's what constitutes the state of constant learning. If we appreciate and are grateful for this progress, if we celebrate the small steps, we can enjoy the reinforcing feelings of satisfaction. We don't lose heart, we don't give up. We don't lose focus on a specific point in the distance because we're not interested in a specific location on the path. Only the path itself. The mastery path is perpetual. There is no finish line. We keep on learning. I love this. I love this so much. This is the mastery path. We don't focus on a specific point in the distance because we're not interested in a specific location on the path. Rather, only the path itself. That is what we're interested in. It's the journey that takes us to mastery, not a particular destination. Wow, this is gold. Put another way, we fail to realize that mastery is not about perfection. It's about a process, a journey. The master is the one who stays on the path day after day, year after year. The master is the one who is willing to try and fail and try again for as long as he or she lives. Notice it doesn't say for as long as it takes, okay? Because there's no end. It's for as long as you live. That, my friends, is the mastery path. Okay, that's it for this book. This is a good one. Driven. A little summary here of the big ideas we unpacked. First, the paradoxical truth is that discipline equals freedom. Those of us that are driven, many of us in this online entrepreneur community are driven, and we have to understand we have to focus that energy and that power, and the way we do that is with discipline. And our great story requires some structure, like Laura from high school who had this driven characteristic and she needed a tight container to keep it in. That's what we need to do. We need a tight container to enable our story to be great. And this is all part of the mastery mindset. This is what it looks like. Better has no finish line. That's worth repeating. It's the process. Better is a process. It's a commitment to continual improvement, not a commitment to arrive at a particular destination. You and your sword, forging time, and the mastery path. If we're lucky, it never ends. It's about the journey, my friends, not the destination. Well, I've sure enjoyed this book. I hope you have. Driven. I know so many of you out there are so driven in this online community, and I hope this helps you give a little structure to your life and to help you along your way on the mastery path. Well, again, I'm Keck with Builderall, your information products training and support specialist. Thanks for spending this time with me this morning. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9 for some more awesome Builderall training. Until then, let's build it with Builderall. Ciao for now, friends. See you then.